We will wait until there is 5 people. Hello, hello, testing, testing. Can you hear me? Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Do you have the book with you? Do you have the structured essay questions book with you? The structured essay questions book with you? Okay. Okay, so I realized one thing about this Cold War, about history essays in general, is that you cannot follow a model essay. Yes, this thing is a bit laggy. There is a slight delay, so you have to type faster. Okay? So I realized something. These are generally the types of questions that can come out in terms of this chapter. So the first type they can ask you is explain why. So in this case, you have to look at what is the trigger. What is the trigger that caused this event to take place? So normally your answer would be things that happen before the event, okay, which led to the formation of this event. So this is one type of question that they can ask. So you have to be very creative in finding your 2 main points, because I realized that it is not straightforward at all. According to the structured essay book, the 2 main points they give is different from the 2 main points that Miss Aslina gave. In the book, they say the 2 main points are: number 1, if you talk about Berlin blockade, So if you see the Berlin blockade essay, why did it form? If you talk about the things that happened after the Berlin blockade, such as the airlifting and the tensions that rose because of this airlifting and the maluwness of Stalin, then all these things will become irrelevant. So please do not go beyond the start of the Berlin blockade. So the main reason why Stalin was triggered to do this action, you have to think of a main point. So I would say, according to this book, they wrote the main point. The first one is because of a conflicting vision for Germany's future. So the book writes conflicting. Okay, there is no right way or wrong way to write this. As long as you can explain and give the proper evidence clearly, it's okay. So for the book, this is the main point that they said. Conflicting vision. And in the examples, they gave the vision is the ideological differences. UK, can you follow? Are you following? So it says here, Stalin wanted to turn Germany into a communist state. So Stalin, Germany, communism. The other difference would be the US. US, capitalism in Germany. Okay, the US wanted to keep Germany as a pro-Western democratic country so as to impact and increase the sphere of influence. That is the key thing. So this was one of the main points that they gave. Okay, can you follow? So after this, then they wrote about how Stalin was angry. Because you have to be angry before you can be triggered to do an action. So what caused Stalin to be angry was the division of Germany. Okay? In this division of Germany, the Western powers were given 2/3. Okay, so you must remember this fact. And because they were given 2/3, that's why Stalin felt that this was highly unfair, and this will hurt his chances of turning Germany into a communist state. Okay? Again, it will undermine communist influence. So different visions for Germany's future. The two different visions for Germany's future led to rising tensions, to which Stalin decided that the West needs to be stopped in their plan for a democratic Germany. Ken, are you all talking? Why I see nobody is talking? Is there an option for you to switch on your microphone and give snippets of your voice? So for the second main point, what the book gives is that other than conflicting vision for Germany's future, the other disagreement that they had over Germany is what to do with Germany's economy. So in other words, how to handle Germany's economy. Okay, this is how they charted their answer. So what did the US want? Hello, hello. So can someone try? What did the US want to do with Germany's economy? What did the US want to do with Germany's economy? That is something that you need to answer. Anybody want to try? Increase. Yes, very good. But not just increase, wanted to revive Germany's economy. Why do they want to do this? The main reason is so that US can benefit from trading with other capitalist systems. And the secondary reason is so that Germany would not be attractive to the communists. Okay? When you have a presence felt there, when you can really help them to improve their economy, they will not be attracted to alternate systems of government such as communism. Okay? So this is direct contrast to what the Soviet Union wanted and what Stalin wanted for Germany's economy. Okay, it's quite obvious that the USSR or the Soviet Union wanted huge reparations. Wanted Germany to pay huge reparations. Why? As compensation for damages. For the damages that were done during World War II. Okay? And just like after World War I, Germany rose to power. So Soviet Union, because they were devastated, they were attacked heavily by Germany. That's why they decided that we must have huge reparations for them. We must ensure our safety of the Soviet Union. That Germany will not be able to rise up again and attack. So they're very concerned about their safety, they're very concerned about their sphere of influence. That is why they wanted Germany to have huge reparations. Hence, they disagreed over this issue. So the key thing now is how do you explain these differences? Okay, which is linked very much to the first point. So you must say that Stalin then became angry because when you are triggered, you need something that makes you triggered. So what is the final thing that happened because of this difference in how to handle Germany's economy? In the end, the US decided since they cannot agree, they'll just go ahead with their plan. So the plan was indeed the Marshall Plan, right? So they formed the Bizonia. They indeed wanted to unite the zones together to form a united West Germany. Okay? What did they do? After that, they went ahead and started the new currency. So if you are Stalin, you put yourself in his shoes, definitely you will be very, very angry at this. So what happened to the old currency? The worthless old currencies will all flow back into the Soviet Union's part of Germany because they are still using, they have not changed their currency yet. So the worthless currency now goes into the Soviet Union's area of Germany. This will piss Stalin off. So Stalin then introduced a new currency to counteract the Western powers. Okay, so what did Stalin fear? He feared the economic recovery of...
Why your aircon so... Make lower lah. 27 is...
Right, minor interruption. Yes, so now this thing is over already. Okay? Can you get your friends to come online as well? Because there's only 5 people. It's quite sad. I'm talking so much for only 5 people. Some history students, please. Can I have some history students to come online? And not just the 4 history students. Who are the 4? Is it Shi Hui, Frankie, Aiman, and Ziyuan? Okay, anyway, let's continue. So if you have questions or you don't understand whatever I'm talking about, just type it in the live chat. Okay, so to continue, if you look at this part, the Soviet Union wanted huge reparations, but Germany, so that Germany would not be able to rise again and attack the Soviet Union. They also wanted to protect their sphere of influence, but instead of agreeing with this issue, the US decided that they wanted to have it their way, to benefit from trading in the capitalist system. So they decided to start their new currency, the go ahead. Then all the old currency, they are worthless now, they are flowing into East Germany where the Soviets are. So this is the thing that triggered Stalin. So he reacted by forming his own currency, and he also reacted by the Berlin blockade to ensure that the West would not be able to form West Germany, in order to prevent this democratic system of government to enter into Germany. Okay, so that's the main point. So just to recap the 2 points they gave. First, conflicting vision, because one wanted to have a democratic Germany so that they can increase their influence in Europe, especially the US presence, while the other, Stalin, Soviet Union, wanted a communist Germany to pay huge reparations and to be loyal to the communist state so that they can have security in their region. Hence, these 2 different visions of the future resulted in tensions, and Stalin decided that the West needs to be stopped in their plan for democratic Germany. The other thing is how to handle the economy, because the US wanted to benefit from trading with other capitalist systems, but Germany wanted another thing. They wanted reparations. So these agreements led to the formation of the currencies, which provoked Stalin even more. And thus, Stalin wanted to ensure the West could not form a capitalist West Germany, so he started the Berlin blockade, and that is why it happened. So this is the first type of questions that can come up, is why things took place. So you need to know what is the trigger that led to things taking place. Okay, this is the part A 8-mark question. So if you have 1 paragraph for one of your main points explained correctly, you will get 4 to 5 marks. And for 6 to 8, that is when you write your second paragraph well. Okay, if you explain one factor well, 1 point, you will get 5 marks. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. Yes, this is the thing about Google, about YouTube Live. If you know any other live streaming service that can have non-delayed typing, please introduce it to me. But the only one that I know now is YouTube Live. Okay? Yes, SS Live will be another day, because I need to clear this. I feel that this is a very pressing issue that needs to be addressed. Because for history, the essay has a higher weightage than in SS. In SS, the higher weightage is in the source-based question. So for history, the essay is kind of important. Yes, really. RRLY. Skype. Can you use Skype to show your screen? Skype, you have to show your camera, am I right? Okay, if you can teach me how to use other things, then I will use it. But for now, I feel that YouTube is quite a good tool, apart from the lagginess that it has. Okay, let's move on. So if you look at the second type of question you can ask, other than explaining why, the second way, or you mean you can share a screen with Skype? Or share a screen with Twitch.tv, or share a screen with Skype. Okay, anyway, let's not waste time. So the second type of question you can ask you is, why did relations deteriorated? So to give you a time frame in your question, make sure that your events that you write, your main points that you write based on this time frame can be seen. Okay, so this is quite easy, why relations deteriorated. So you can actually give anything as long as it happens between this era. So anybody want to tell me what main point they will give for why relations deteriorated between 1945 and 1949? Okay, technically you can't really give the ideological differences. So what else happened in 1945, 1949? Come, share with me what else happened in 1949, 1945, 1949 that led to a deterioration of relations. You can write about. What can you write about? Hello? Between the 5 of you, 6 of you now. Okay, yes, suspicion and distrust. Then you must give me an event that happened. So what is the event that led to this suspicion and distrust? It can be anything. Okay, but if I would do the answer, I can also write about the Berlin blockade. Okay, Berlin blockade falls within this timeline. So you can write one point as your Berlin blockade. You can also write one point about the Marshall Plan. You can also write one point about the Potsdam Conference. Because the Potsdam Conference is July 1945. Okay, delay in opening second front, I think it happened before 1945. So be mindful of the date. So you may not be, okay, delay in second front was 1944. So in other words, you can't write that point down. You have to be mindful. Okay, all other things you can write down. Yes, okay, for today we will try this system. Okay, I know 10 seconds delay. Okay, the next type of question you can ask, explain how this contains communism. So for this type of question, you just have to list down in your explanation how Stalin was weakened or how communism became unattractive. Okay, so explain how blah 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 contain communism. So they can give you any factor in the world. So example, they ask you to explain how the Marshall Plan contain communism. What would you write for this? Explain how the Marshall Plan contain communism. Is Twitch a useful tool? Let's try Twitch. Is it free to sign up for Twitch? Yes, so if they ask you about the Marshall Plan, how will you say that Marshall Plan helped to contain communism? First, you must write what is the Marshall Plan. Right, so the Marshall Plan is a system where they send aid. Yes, they will write economic recovery to countries so that they will not turn to communism. Good. So the next question is why? Why would they not turn to communism? Because of the devastation in Europe. So it all leads back to this devastation. If the country is devastated, more than likely they will be attracted to alternative systems of government. And communism is one such system whereby the rich will be robbed of their wealth and they're given to the state ownership. And hence each person will have a fair share of this ownership. And this idea would sound very appealing for people. That is why they will turn to communism. So when you provide recovery for them, then they will not be that attracted to these alternate systems of government. Yes. So that is what I mean by explanation. Explaining everything very clearly, then you can get the answer and the marker knows your thoughts. So the key thing, the marker must know what you are thinking when you explain. Yes, they'll be grateful, they'll be indebted to the USA for their help, and hence they'll more likely not fall to communism. And because of this, the US will be able to have a degree of influence in Germany. As such, they can increase their sphere of influence against communist threats. Okay? What do you mean by they want to find a new government after the war? Okay, yes, I understand that point. Very good. Let's move on. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Explain why this led to the outbreak of the Cold War. This is the easiest form of the question because this whole chapter is about what led to the outbreak of the Cold War. So if you get this question, please thank your lucky stars and do it. Because for this, in your explanation, what do you need for your explanation? Three things, three very important things you must write down when you explain why certain factors led to the outbreak of the Cold War. So what are the three things? Unfortunately, this delay is unavoidable due to the nature of the live streaming process. Correct, Frankie. First thing, ideological conflict. Second thing, tension. Third thing, because of the conflict, because of the tension, the conflict, the distrust, the suspicion, the perception that each side has. This formed different spheres of influence, and because of these spheres of influence, the world is now labeled as what? Okay, let's have some background music. Relaxing piano.
Get ready, 'cause here I come.
Well, last thing I like to introduce.
What is the third point? What is the third point? The world will become more what? Because of this tension, because of this ideological conflict. Okay? I'm still waiting for an answer. Can someone give me an answer? Other than tension, other than ideological conflict, other than distrust, suspicion, spheres of influence, because of these spheres of influence, hence you have bipolarity. Please remember this word. The world will become bipolar. Bipolarity. Okay? Good? Are you good to go? Okay? If you see what is bipolar? Bipolar just means there are two very distinct sphere of influences. Okay? So, in your mind, in your brain, when you sit for the mid-year exam, whatever question that they ask you relating to this, it will always be in these forms for part A. Okay, part A, it will either be explain why this took place, or it will be why relations deteriorated, or it will be how this thing contained communism, or the easiest of all, why this led to the outbreak of the Cold War. So be mindful of what you need to write for your explanation depending on what type of question they ask you. The important thing is the issue. If the issue here is contain communism, your explanation must relate to how communism became unattractive. If the issue here is deterioration of relations, then you just write how this led to tensions that happened. Okay, if they say why it took place, you have to think about the trigger. Okay, just to recap. But in order to narrow down what you need to write, first you must have the main points in your brain. It must be memorized. So what are some of the main points? It's just the main points. So first, ideological conflict. Okay, just a quick revision. For ideological conflict, the key thing is the economic and political differences in the system, as well as the civil war that the US took part in, which led to the Soviet Union feeling undermined. Okay, and this was the spark that led the Soviet to think that the US was out to threaten the peace or threaten communism. Okay, so second front, you must know D-Day. You must know why they delayed in opening the second front, which is obviously so that for the US side is so that the Soviets and the Germans could weaken each other. Okay, for the Soviet side, they perceive this delay as on purpose, also for the same reason, so that the Soviets and Germans could weaken each other. Hence, there's an issue of trust here. This led to suspicion. This led to breakdown of trust in relations. Okay? So you must know all this. So Yalta Conference was how to handle Germany. It was the first official negotiation when the war has not ended yet. Okay, so the key thing here is to know that they had disagreements. Okay, and they handled the agreements with a pinch of salt. So what did they agree upon? They agreed that the Soviets could obtain North Korea and Manchuria. And of course the West was not happy with this. In return, the Soviets would help fight the Japanese in the Asia Pacific. Okay, so that's the Yalta Conference. Potsdam Conference, I think this is quite familiar for you. Disagreements over Germany. Disagreements over Eastern European states. Disagreements over Poland. So all this led to the Cold War because it reinforced the differences that the two ideologies had. Okay, so you must write down your example. What is this disagreements over Germany? What is this disagreement over Eastern European states? What is this disagreement over Poland? What did Germany do? What did the US do in return? And therefore, this Potsdam Conference, thus it reinforced the differences the two ideologies had, led to tensions, and hence it was a spark that further pushed two ideologies away from one another into the building of two spheres of influence, two separate blocks of power. Okay? You are still here, right? Okay, then next, nuclear monopoly. Manhattan Project. This was the US plan to develop an atomic bomb which they used on Japan. Okay, this led to suspicion because they didn't tell the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union has spies. It was the spies that uncovered this bomb. Hence, just like a relationship, if your partner finds out you have a secret and you did not tell your partner, of course they'll be triggered, right? So hence this triggered the war. This led to the Soviet Union making their own bombs. Hence, it resulted in a nuclear arms race. And because of this arms race, thus this led to increase in tensions, and thus this led to the spark, the Cold War. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 more main points that you need to know. So, devastation of Europe. For this, you must just say that there is fertile ground for the two superpowers. Okay, Europe was in ruins. They couldn't rule themselves, and they were suspectable. to anyone who was willing to help them, especially in their economic and political systems. So this was extremely fertile ground for communism to grow, but also fertile ground for capitalism to grow. If the US took advantage of the situation with the Marshall Plan, you can bring these states that are devastated into your influence, into your control. And thus these two will not be happy with whatever plans that they have. Okay, thus this led to the Cold War, devastation of Europe. Okay, establishment of satellite states. The key thing here is the salami tactics. So this was one of the first instances of the outbreak, is that Stalin decided to have salami tactics in order to increase his sphere of influence. Okay, especially in the states closest to him, which is Austria, Hungary, Czech, Poland. Okay, so these satellite states, you must talk about US perception. What will the US think if you see that Stalin is slowly but surely obtaining influence and building communist regimes in all these places? The US will of course think that Stalin is trying to increase Soviet influence or increase communism in Eastern Europe. So then, because of this thing, that is why the US decided we are going to start containment, because we believe that the Soviets are hostile and they want to increase their influence and sphere of influence. Yes, so that's why we need containment in order as a reactive measure to help and build a presence in Europe, so that Soviets will think twice before they attack or before they further increase their presence in Eastern Europe. Okay, thus this led to tensions, and thus this led to the Cold War. Truman Doctrine and Marshall Plan, they're roughly the same thing. It's just about aid. So you must link your brain to talk about aid. Okay? Economic aid is what you must write down. So for Truman Doctrine, it is Greece and Turkey, because these countries were susceptible to fall to communism. But the Marshall Plan, it is not Greece and Turkey, but it is the rest of Europe as a whole, including, this is very important, you must write, including the Soviet satellite states. So when they go into these areas, of course Stalin will be triggered, and thus this is one of the reasons that you can write that led to the Berlin blockade, the trigger that happened. Okay, if they say how this led to the Cold War, you will say because of this trigger, thus tensions arose, and Stalin took extra measure to react to this Marshall Plan by coming up with Comcon, or Comintern and Comcon to repel. And because of this, the world was then split between those that are under the Marshall Plan versus those under Comintern. Okay, but those under Comintern, they have no choice, because Stalin forced them to be under the sphere of influence in order to protect, on the basis to protect their own states, but actually Stalin wanted to protect his own Soviet Union. So then the world splits into those supporting Marshall Plan and those supporting Comintern. So two ideologies, bipolarism, and thus the Cold War. Okay, so this is what exactly I said just now. Then next, the Berlin blockade, which I already say why it's mostly because of the disagreements over how to handle Germany. Should Germany be a communist or capitalist? Should Germany pay reparations according to what the book says and how they format their answer? Okay, so Stalin reacted to the West's idea of building a democratic and capitalist West Germany, because Berlin was split into 3 zones as well. So to stop this from forming, all you need to do is to block the area. But of course, how it led to the Cold War is because after that the US decided, no, you will have airlifts to combat your blockade. In the end, Stalin lost out. He unblocks the blockade, but he felt very humiliated. So this humiliation led to increased tensions and thus further actions that were taken, okay, in order to further escalate the Cold War. Okay, don't worry, I'll do it properly, and then I'll send you the proper way of writing to the loyal 5 of you who are still listening to this. So if I'm not wrong, it is Vanessa, Ziyuan, Frankie, Shu Hui, and Aiman. Am I right? If it's yes, can you say yes so that I know you're listening? Or are you just putting your phone at one corner and doing other things? Okay, never mind. I'll just talk about the last 2 things. NATO must merely think that this is a military action. So if they ask you why NATO was formed, you need to find the trigger. NATO is from the US side. Correct? So what is the trigger that resulted in the US having to form NATO? It must be the actions of the Soviet Union. Okay, so one point you can write, of course, is the Berlin blockade. Because they started this action, who knows what other actions they might take. So hence we must build the whole point of NATO is to build a military presence in Europe to withstand Soviet increase in their sphere of influence. Okay? So why NATO was formed? Firstly, because of the Soviet action. So one action they had was this Berlin blockade. Alright, what else can you write? Actually, you can write about anything under the sun. Other than this Berlin blockade, you can also write about the increasing sphere of influence, which means the salami tactics. Or you can also write about the disagreements. So all this tell me that the Soviet Union was not interested in just taking what they were agreed upon after the World War, but they want to increase their influence in Eastern Europe. Hence, in order to stop them, in order not to make the mistakes that the League of Nations made, we must build a strong military presence in Europe. Hence, we must form NATO to do this. Okay, so in your essay, you must tell me more about these disagreements. You must tell me more about this sphere of influence. If you decide to write this as a point, and you must tell me more about Berlin blockade and how it led to the perception of the US that Soviets can't be trusted, and we need to counteract this desire to increase their sphere of influence with strong military presence. Okay, good. There's 6 of you now. I'll feel happier if there are 6 people. So Warsaw Pact is the same thing. If you say why Warsaw Pact was formed, it's basically because NATO was formed. So Warsaw Pact was a response to NATO. But you can also say that Warsaw Pact was a response to their perception of what the US wanted to do in Europe, which was to increase their sphere of influence through the Marshall Plan. So you can talk about the Marshall Plan as well. You can talk about the airlift. Because of the Berlin blockade, they airlifted, right? That's why they decided that we need to do something about it. But if the question asks you about how this led to the Cold War, then you must say that because of this Warsaw Pact, it increased the military presence of the Soviet Union in Europe. It also increased the reactionary measures, which is NATO. So NATO plus Warsaw equals an armed Europe with the arms race ready for war. So thus tensions, suspicion with each other, using NATO, using Warsaw Pact to increase sphere of influence, which led to bipolarity, which led to the escalation of the Cold War. So you can see through my speaking how I actually link all my thoughts together, and you must make sure your explanation is very clear. Don't assume that the marker knows what you are talking about. That is the key. Okay, that is the key to do well in this essay. Okay, if I'm not wrong, I gave you all an essay before on this Cold War thing. The issue for the model essays given to you was on this, why it led to the outbreak of the Cold War, which is all these things. So all the factors are written down in that model essay. I'm sure you have that essay with you. What you don't have is this part, why it took place, which is the homework that was given to you. Okay, so for that I've marked the first part already. The key thing is you need to give more details. You need your explanation to be clearer. Clarity. Okay, now I have nothing much. You should have learned something today. Now I would like to try something else. Can you tell me what is the avenue that I can use to stream so that there's no lagging in the chat group? The moral essay is the one that's talking about how this led to the Cold War. it is also the answers to your tests, which I gave to you. Am I right? Did I give it to you? The answers to your tests that you took. As well as the other model essay. Oh no, there's only 3 people now. Okay? So can we try something else to stream? Can you actually stream with what's that called? With Skype. I'm actually using this software. It's called OBS Broadcasting System. So it's very convenient, but I do not know whether they include this. If I look at the settings, it shows me streaming. I see service YouTube. I also see Twitch inside. I also see Facebook Live. Do I have Facebook? Facebook Live. Oh, Daryl is here. Did you suddenly show up? Or were you here the whole time? Right, do you have any difficulties that you want to share? Can you do a mind map again? Okay, I want to share with you this video on how you can learn better. Okay, there's this researcher. His name is okay, let me check. There's this guy. Yes, Feynman technique. So let's look at this Feynman technique, which I think is quite useful for you. So I will get some of you to do the live streaming next time, and then you will explain the factor. And when you can explain, okay, we won't use live streaming, we will use Google Hangout. Then you'll have a chance to explain verbally. When you can explain the factor, that is when you know you have understood it completely. Okay, so let's watch this video together, the Feynman technique.
Feynman's learning technique is effective for learning something new, deepening your understanding of what you already know, or helping you study for an exam. The first step is to pick a topic you want to understand and start studying it. Once you know what it is about, take a piece of paper and write about it, as if you're teaching the idea to someone else. Ideally, write and speak at the same time, just as a teacher does it at the blackboard. This makes you realize which parts you understand and where you still have gaps. Whenever you get stuck, go back to study and repeat that process until you have explained the whole topic from start to end. When you're done, repeat the process from the beginning, but this time simplify your language or use a graphic analogy to make a point. If your explanation ends up wordy or confusing, you probably have not understood it well enough, so you should start again. Thinking about an idea by explaining it makes this learning method very effective. Once you can explain an idea in simple language, you have deeply understood it and will remember it for a long time. Richard Feynman was a leading theoretical physicist who received a Nobel Prize for his work in quantum electrodynamics. He was notorious for asking his fellow mathematicians to explain concepts in simple language to test their understanding. Thanks for watching. Also check out other Sprouts learning techniques as they...
Okay? Have you watched the video? Facebook Live. Can we try Facebook Live? Do you all have Facebook? Let's log on to Facebook Live now. Okay, please give me about 15 minutes. We'll come back. I'll try and install Skype and then we'll see if it's better. Or Facebook Live.